Shabbat Shalom V'Chag Sameach. So wonderful to be with you this evening in community and in prayer. My name is Shoshana Nambi, Rabbinic Intern, and I am here at the Bima Reading Services this evening together with Kenta Shana Delo and Rabbi Juliana Carroll, and to be spiritually uplifted by our wonderful musician David. And I would also like to say thank you to our wonderful greeter Roberta Shemer. This evening, we are not only celebrating Shabbat, but we are also continuing to celebrate the Jewish festival of Shavuot, which means weeks. We have already counted 49 days and now are ready to receive the Torah. Shavuot is our annual celebration where we commemorate the revelation at Mount Sinai, where we received the Torah. We all come to the Torah from different journeys and with different stories and different questions and spiritual needs. And tonight we'll be highlighting some of our Jewish texts that we read on Shavuot that really imply or lead us to an understanding of our own Jewish journey to Torah. As somebody who comes from a community that converted to Judaism many years ago, I am always very inspired by the book of Ruth. The book of Ruth is set between the periods of the Judges and the Kings, and it's about two women, a mother and a daughter and mother-in-law, Ruth and Naomi. Despite all the stereotypes and the jokes that we've heard about daughters and mothers-in-law, the book of Ruth really celebrates two women who support and cling onto each other. The book of Ruth celebrates Ruth, who embraces a culture not her own, a people not her own, and a God not her own. Ruth merits through her righteous deeds and through her kindness to be the grandmother of King David, who our tradition says the Messiah will come from. When Naomi pleads with Ruth to go back to her ancestral home, to the land of the Moabites, so that she can be safe, Ruth insists and says, "Do not urge me to leave you, to turn back and not to follow you. For wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God shall be my God." So whether we are born Jewish or we came to Judaism at some stage in our lives, the book of Ruth really teaches us about persistence and about our continuous choice to choose a Jewish life, to choose to belong to the Jewish people, and to be open to learning Torah. After all, our personal stories and choices later become communal celebrations and can change the faces of history. So salute to Ruth. This evening, we are delighted that we will be welcoming Shabbat with lights, and we are delighted that we'll be led in kindling of our Shabbat lights with the 3 generations of the Thau family. So I would like to invite up here Jackie Wise and John Thau with their granddaughter Rebecca, her boyfriend David, and Jackie's father Warren. Also my classmates.
To say that David just did chapel service for us. So if you're recognizing him because you were at chapel, he filled in last minute when Andrew Stefano was sick, and he also happens to be the son of Ron Epstein, who is our development director. So it's all in the Bread of Shalom family here.
Thank you. And with that blessing of light, we continue with Lechuna Renena. Come, let us sing a psalm that invites us to celebrate and honor Shabbat with song and blessing. Page 12.
Let us sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God a new song. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai.
We continue to invite in and celebrate Shabbat as a Shabbat bride with Lecha Dodi, which is on page 20, and we will be singing the first and second stanzas and the 8th and 9th. It's our custom to rise and face the door as we welcome in Shabbat on the last stanza.
Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala. Pene Shabbat nekabela, shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, yishmiyanu el hamiyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shemu tiferet v'litila, lecha Mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh במחשבה תחילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה, התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת מעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Remain standing as you're able to for the Baruch Hu, our call to worship and our call to service. Remain standing for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Two quotes stand out for me about the Torah. One is from Martin Buber, Tales of Hasidim. Why is Shavuot called Ziman Matan Torah, the time that the Torah was given, rather than the time the Torah was received? He answered, the giving took place one day, but the receiving takes place all times. Another saying, another teaching comes from Ben Bang Bang, very funny name, in the Mishnah Pirkei Avot, who says that turn it over and again turn it over, since everything is in it, and in it you should look, and in it you should grow old and worn in it, and do not move away from it, for you have no better portion than it. Speaking about the Torah. Both these teachings teach us that every day we receive Torah through study, through doing mitzvot that are written in the Torah. But as much as we all come to the Torah with different journeys and different stories and different spiritual aspirations and needs, we need to make sure that our Torah survives and continues throughout the generations. And that can only be possible through Torah study. Through all the miracles of the great opening of the Great Sea and the love of receiving of the Torah, we are grateful and hopeful, and I hope that we continue the study of Torah. We sing together, Mi Kamocha, a song of freedom.
Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day, and I never lost 1 minute of sleeping, worrying about the way things might have been. Big wheel keep on turning, proud Mary keep on burning, rolling, rolling, rolling on the river, rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei feleh, nora tehilot osei feleh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei feleh, nora tehilot osei feleh. If you come down to the river, I bet you're gonna find some people who live. You don't have to worry if you've got no money. People on the river, they're happy to give. Big wheel keep on turning, proud Mary keep on burning, rolling, rolling, rolling on the river, rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. V'ne'emar ki v'Adonai et Yaakov, u'ge'alo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Adonai, help us to walk with good compassions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. We sing together Hashkiveinu on page 42.
Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim.
Shavuot, like the other pilgrimage festivals of the year, invites us to put ourselves in the mindset of our ancestors who traveled to seek sanctuary. We ask ourselves, what did they carry with them? They probably carried their sacrifices with them. They may have carried food and water in order to accompany them on the journey. I also suspect that many of them carried with them prayers for healing, prayers for the people in their lives who were far away from the temple, far away from that sacred sanctuary, maybe far away from God. They carried those prayers with them on their pilgrimage in the hope that proximity to their community and proximity to holy space would maybe ensure that their prayers were heard and that the people that they loved would heal. We take time as a community now to think of those who are struggling in mind, body, and spirit. We're praying for Sandy Sarabin, Tracy Lustig, Cassie Lustig, Michael Umans, Eli Morrison, Paulette Kohan, Patricia Horn, Stephen Schwinder, Perry Soskin, Roy Soskin, Jane Wisen, Lori Weinberg, Richard Carver, Shira Aliza, Robert Appel, Zvi Leschetz, Mark Miller, Ellen Kirshner, Bobby Waldman, Mark Margulies, Debbie Provus, Paul Biddleman, Joseph Abada, Sydney Spano, Tom Lee, Ricky Dessen, Benita Ganot, Jimmy Berghoff, Harriet Feldman, Eric Alper, Peter Boritz, Pauline Rothstein, Eric Gruthuis, Brian Altman, and Ari Guinor. Are there additional people you are praying for this Shabbat? We continue with prayers of Misha Berach in the middle of page 253.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before
We invite the community to please rise as you are able as we turn to the Amidah liturgy beginning on page 46.
Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Lizocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, mi chamocha ba'al gevurot, umidol melach, melech me'emit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh Shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. Our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, can be found on page 60.
Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam.
invite you into personal reflection.
Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. And your people shall be my people, and your God, my God.
Where you
Ki el asher telchi eleh.
where you
Ova asher talini ali.
and your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you
Ki el
I
asher
will
telchi eleh.
where you
Ova asher talini ali.
and your people shall be my people, and your God, my God, and your God, my God, and your
For those who observe 2 days of Shavuot, if they come to the second day's Torah service, they have the privilege of hearing from the prophet Ezekiel. Ezekiel's a weirdo. There is no other way to say it. The rabbis of our tradition almost kept him out of the canon, but they were overruled because it was believed that he was truly a prophet of God. His images are oblique, his language is sometimes explicit and unsavory. He's angry, he's righteous, and the God that he depicts is a jealous God that is very mad at the Israelites for idolatry. Ezekiel spends most of his book casting blame and judgment. And it was said by the rabbis of our tradition that you were not eligible to study the book of Ezekiel unless you were at least 30 years old and you were a chacham. You were a truly wise person, because the risks of encountering this text were so great that a person who wasn't ready might misunderstand them. The section that we read from Yehezkel on the second day of Shavuot is from the very first chapter of the book, in which he depicts an image of a chariot, Ma'aseh Merkava, which is one of the central images of our mystical tradition. It's very hard to make sense of. He describes a vision of God, and the chariot is pulled by animals, but they're different kinds of animals, but they're also human. There's fire, there's amber, there's light. But the place in which Ezekiel experiences this vision, this prophecy, is beside a river. And what's interesting is that a teacher of Torah named Hephzibah Cohen Montague, who teaches at a women's Beit Midrash, pulls up this midrash that argues that the vision that Ezekiel actually has is seen in the reflection of the river Chebar, where he sits, that he's not looking up, but the water in front of him is so still that he's able to see the heavens burst open and this glorious, unfathomable image he attempts to put into words. And she draws this contrast between receiving Torah at Mount Sinai and the pyrotechnics of that moment, the Israelites, a massive nation gathered at the foot of this mountain that another Midrashic tradition says was actually suspended over their heads, the most dramatic, deafening kind of encounter with Torah. And she sets up Ezekiel's vision as the diametric opposite, a solitary man in diaspora, alone at the side of a river. And that invites us to consider how each person and each group differently encounters Torah. And it goes back to what Shoshana brought forward earlier in the service, this idea that we may have been given Torah once, but we're receiving it throughout our lives. And this contrast between the story of receiving Torah in the book of Exodus and this kind of solitary but grand moment for the prophet Ezekiel might suggest to all of us that we can find Torah anywhere, and that we might be able to find Torah in the most dramatic, loud, chaotic moments of our lives, and that we also might seek it in those more quiet, isolated moments, and hopefully everywhere in between. We're also reminded of a kind of Torah study that's called the Pardes method of Torah. Pardes method of Torah study basically asserts that there are these 4 levels of Torah text. Peshat, Pardes, Pardes. So the is Peshat, it's simple. Then that next level is called the remez, it's the hints. What lies beneath the text? What is the text asking us to kind of pull out on our own? Beneath that is the drash, that's the exegesis. When we put the hints and we put that simple, more surface layer in conversation with one another, what do they yield? And beneath that is the sod, the secret. And Pardes means orchard. The idea being that if you were to wander around any beautiful, untouched, natural place, maybe like the Garden of Eden, you might see one view when you first walked through the gate, but then as you approached each leaf or each ant or each piece of fruit and you looked more closely, you'd see an entirely new universe. And so too, that's the way we should be approaching Torah. Open that we might read something one way and understand it at one level, and then from a different orientation and a different stage in our lives, come back to that text and understand it in an entirely new way. And what kind of brings all of this together? Interestingly, Ezekiel is the only prophet in the Tanakh who isn't called by his name. God calls him Ben Adam. God calls him mortal or human. And the phrase Ben Adam appears 93 times in the book of Ezekiel, and it only appears 14 times in the rest of the Tanakh. And so I wonder if this oblique, intense, weird, difficult prophet is a human, like the rest of us. Difficult, complicated, dramatic, with all of these various chapters of our lives, who's able to find Torah in stillness and in exile, but is able to hold within that all of the drama of that story and of his relationship with God. And he's able to hold that while he's far away from home. And to use that first, yes, to judge his people and to try and get them to turn away from their idolatrous ways, but then later in the book to articulate a vision of restoration that would ultimately come true, that they would return home, and the entire time they would have kept their tradition with them. So maybe Ezekiel is the first prophet who teaches us that our tradition is portable, and that not only can it come with us through geographies over vast lands and at great distances, but also through all the chapters of our lives, through hardship and joy and pain, and all of the goodness and all of the richness and all of the challenge that we face. The prophet Ezekiel gives us Torah. We turn to Aleinu on page 282, and I invite the community to please rise as you are able as the ark is open.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu keroyei haratzot, v'lo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech kol haaretz bayom ahu bayom ahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo 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 echad.
As we now turn to Mourner's Kaddish, we also acknowledge that this weekend marks Memorial Day. And so as we honor our loved ones, we also honor those who have given their lives to build up this country, to make us strong, to get us to this moment, another moment of complexity, but also a moment of strength. We're going to begin with those recently departed, and as we proceed through the names, we invite you, if you hear the name of a loved one, to rise as you remember them if you are able, and you can also enact a ritual of memorial by placing stone on slate at the front of the room. We begin with those in the period of Shiva, the first week, or Shloshim, the first 30 days since the death of a loved one, and we're remembering Ellen Baxt, Laura Pinkney-Zakin, Sarah Delson, Louise Weisbord, Candy Wasser, Wozalie Wright, Susan Baumgarten, Bert Bitterman, Roe Mandel, Harold L. Sokoloff. Is there anyone else in the period of Shiva, the first week of mourning? Thank you. Is anyone in the first 30 days of mourning Shloshim? Thank you. And for a period of the first year, Shana. And we continue with those whose yahrzeits we mark this Shabbat. Morris Adelman, Stephen Barron, Helen Needleman Belgray, Melvin Berman, Helene Elting Blumenthal, Leonard Brody, Arlene Licht Cohen, Harold S. Cohen, Helen Diamond, Morris Diamond, Gussie Epstein, Lawrence Epstein, Manny Epstein, Sharon Epstein, Suzanne Farmer, Herman Denny Farrell Jr., Arnold Field, Louis Flato, Doris Frank, Eva Bowman Frank, Marshall Friedman, Samuel Friedman, Tilly S. Gans, Stanley Gelber, Rochelle Gendler, Dr. Peter Glazer, Nathan Goldberg, Howard Greenwald, Shirley Greitzer, Meyer Harbus, Sarah Hoffman, Joan Josephson, Max Kallman, Sylvia Kaplan, Dr. Jack Allen Kaplan, David Caby, Milton Kirschbaum, Akiva Kohan, Eli Cranis, Lawrence Krug, Robert Kirschner, Jerry Levine, Selma F. Levy, Monroe P. Lewison, Morris Lonshine, Disney Malkin, Jacob Mannheimer, Eleanor Metzner, Lily Smalls Milch, Ed Mullick, Arthur Joel Niederman, Bernice Notman Odenheimer, Samuel Rabinovich, Jackie Rogers, Harry Rower, Samuel G. Rosenthal, Isidore H. Russick, Muriel Schiff, Martin M. Selvern, Morton Silverman, Ida Stashauer, Florence Stein, Emmy Stern, Alvin Taylor, Felix Townsend, Isidore Tepper, Saul Vogel, Saba Wainapel, Frank Wasserman, Arlene L. Weiss, Dorothy Zeman. Is there are additional loved ones that you are remembering this evening, any additional names. We invite the community to please rise in sympathy and in fellowship for the mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dekol beit Israel, ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekucha barichu le'ela minkol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim halenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing. Please be seated. A few announcements about what's coming up. Tomorrow morning, we have Shabbat morning services in which we will be doing some of the Shavuot Day 2 readings beginning at 10:15, followed by Torah study. Next Friday, we are celebrating our confirmands. Hi, Andrew. I'm so excited to celebrate you. We cannot wait to celebrate their accomplishment, all of their incredible learning, their wisdom, and they also have the opportunity, the confirmands, as they culminate a part of their journey that began in 4th grade, they're going to pass their blessing on to our rising 4th graders who are just beginning their Jewish journeys of identity and question asking. And so please join us on Friday night at 6 o'clock for that service and celebration. Thursday, June 8th, Out of the Closet, a fearless celebration of queer music and the voices of those who inspire us. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to hear not only from our incredible cantors. This is actually based on Cantor Stefano Iacono's senior recital, which he was unable to give due to COVID. And so he's finally getting to do it, but he's doing it much bigger and grander than he ever could have, because Cantor Delo is going to be a part of it, along with a lot of their very musically talented and Jewishly famous friends. So we hope that you'll join us on June 8th at 7 p.m. for that. And then Friday, June 9th, we celebrate our annual Pride Shabbat. And we're so excited that we're going to be hearing from congregant voices and just again proclaiming how proud we are to have the most diverse, beautiful rainbow community here at Road of Sholem, and that we stand as allies and as family with those in our community who identify as LGBTQ+, and then you get an email from us with all of the fun things that go on. So what we're gonna invite you to do is to just take a moment, turn to people near you, maybe somebody that you don't know, introduce yourself, and maybe in celebration of Shavuot, tell them something you learned recently, something new, something interesting maybe, a new piece of Torah. Yep. We can do that. We leave keep them sitting. Rise them up. We're going to invite the community to please rise as we conclude on a sweet note with Kiddush, which can be found on the walls or on page 5. Shoshana, join us in the middle.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'rata banu, b'shabbat kodsho, v'yava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki
המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Amen.
And since we're together, let's pray for peace.
Say shalom במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. say shalom במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. Shabbat Shalom.